Hello, and welcome to Fresh Blood, a podcast about killing it in the age of ageism, where we prove that new blood does not necessarily equal young blood. Here to discuss what it takes to have continued success through life, I'll be your host, Jolie Downs. With over 20 years of executive recruiting experience, I've learned how much we can grow and be inspired by other people's stories. I'm excited to share that with you here on Fresh Blood. Today, we are talking with Waisnor, who has over 30 years of experience working in the financial services industry. He is a business development expert holding various director and VP level roles with a variety of leading companies such as Fidelity, Northwestern Mutual, and now he's leading biz dev for Coveesum. He has enjoyed a long, successful career in his chosen profession, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about his journey. Tom, thank you so much for joining us today on Fresh Blood. Please tell us more about your journey.
Jolie, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. My journey has been one of a series of ups and downs and all arounds. I can tell you in a basic summary, I started my career at Fidelity Investments back in the late 80s, early 90s. And, at the time, I started as a temp worker, and Fidelity had a temporary company, and I was interested in getting in sales or some kind of sales aptitude. And I joined the institutional company at the time, and as a temp, and kept my nose clean and enjoyed it, and joined as a full-time employee and worked directly with clients. I remember the days back in the early 90s when we got Windows technology. That's how far back go. But I do remember also that we worked off of DOS type of technology also. And later in my career, I went back to Fidelity a number of years later, and they still had the DOS programs, which was interesting. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. It's interesting. What comes around goes around. And it was my early career at Fidelity was great. It was pretty heady times there where a lot of battlefield promotions, a lot of people moving up relatively quickly. The market was early 90s was booming. They allowed you to go get licensing, and FINRA licensing back then. Well, I like to say it was hard, but it was easy. But nowadays it's a lot harder for people to get licenses. But back then is relatively easy. You did have to take a test, and you had to take a test and pass your test, and then you could get access to clients and talk to both institutional and retail clients. And I was in the institutional field and wanted to make more money, and then left Fidelity for a job with a firm started by a former Fidelity executive. There's a lot of those out there, and had an opportunity to go out and get on the road and do that. And as time went along, I was carrying the bag for a number of years as what they call a wholesaler, selling asset management and asset management products such as mutual funds and separate accounts. And then got a little bit into the technology area towards my end of the Fidelity career. I went to and then went to a company called UAM Asset Management, and then started with a .com company, an interesting .com that was a company called InvestNet, which back then was just a startup. Love startups, like working for startups. Now I know that more now than I did back then because I've worked for two huge companies.
So was this before the .com bust?
This was before the .com bust. Yeah. When was the bust again? Probably
2001. It was after 9/11.
Yeah.
And after 9/11.
Yeah, I worked for InvestNet for a couple of years. And in 2001, as the bust was going along and they were having problems with venture capital, I moved on to this company that wanted me to come work for them. I was an insurance company, and I wasn't really impressed. Like, why should I go for an insurance company? And found out it was Northwestern Mutual, and they flew me to Milwaukee, and wow, they had a lot of money. They had a lot of money, and they had a lot of prestige, and it was a great company to work for. But interesting enough, InvestNet I introduced the InvestNet founder to a contact at Fidelity, And that relationship, I was there at the birth of that relationship. Fidelity funded Investment. Now Investment's a mega, mega company. Um, so I've had success in getting people together and getting businesses started. Moved on to Northwestern Mutual, was in the asset management business, but fell in love with the process management. So the practice management side of the business. So I've been in asset management, sales, and practice management. And Northwestern, I saw a trend developing, and this was with various different mentors that I had and various different executives I worked for that saw the boom as early as 2002, 2003 coming of all these baby boomers retiring. And it was great. It was, from the early 90s to the early 2000s, and then it was the boom of accumulating a nest egg for retirement. These executives, one executive in particular, a guy named Chuck Robinson at Northwestern Mutual, started talking about, what are we going to do for decumulation? How are we going to guarantee people's assets in retirement and avoid risks of market risks and dying too soon or living too long, those type of risks? It's called income distribution or decumulation strategies, and fell in love with that and advocated for that, as my parents were significantly older. They had me when they were 43, and they were much older, and I saw my parents going into that phase of retiring and go, slow go, and no go stages of retirement, and what happened to them and their nest egg. And I was in the middle of it all, and I saw and identified with so many millions of Americans who are like, how do I guarantee an income stream beyond just beyond Social Security and 401ks and IRAs and Roth IRAs and such. And so Northwestern was a caveat for that. And I did a couple different things with Northwestern. I had a divorce in 2010, which hurt and was a lot of change. I also got I went back after my tenure at Northwestern to Fidelity Investments, and I got phased out in 2008. So between 2008 and 2012, I was kind of like doing a couple different things for Northwestern Mutual, being a rep, doing other things, and just trying to find work and get back into financial services. And
that was a really hard time too.
And being in the early mid 40s, and you saw like younger generations coming in behind you, and technology changing, and as you head towards 50s, things kind of move along. And
this is something that people deal with all the time. And it's actually one of the influences for me to have started this podcast, because I talk to people all the time in the 40s, 50s. If anything happens, if there's a layoff or, the industry tanks, things, new CEO comes in, things happen. And I've found that it is much more of a struggle in the 40s, 50s, in that age set when you're looking for something new. Is there anything that you learned during that time that would be valuable to share to someone who might be in that situation right now?
Yeah. A couple different things that I learned, and I'm still learning. First of all, you're always learning. That's rule number one. The things that I learned is help, and it's kind of similar to that of divorce. People will help you who you least expect to help, will come out of the woodwork to help you. If you just ask, if you just say that I need help in looking at new opportunities, or I just went through divorce, what else is, in a personal sense and a business sense, you'd be surprised at the people who, not so much turn their backs on you, but just don't reply. And the people who do step up and help you, and people who you didn't think of would step up and help you do. So that's, be out there and ask. I think that's the biggest thing. The second thing I did a long time ago is I adopted social media back in 2005 with LinkedIn. And then a part of my phase out at Fidelity was I was really introduced to it in 2008 as a part of a placement service that Fidelity gave me. And I adopted LinkedIn and got to know it very, very well. And was a way for me to network and connect even back then through messaging and liking and doing all the little things around LinkedIn to reach out. Matter of fact, a couple of my jobs I've gotten is through LinkedIn, and that's how I found Coveesum, and that's how I kind of approached them at a conference. And what they do now, and who I work for now, is a firm that provides applications for that retirement income or decumulation phase of a client's life for advisors. So it really combines my practice management and my love of the decumulation phase of a client's life together. But the other things that I found that were helpful was not only to ask people, and I found the least helpful thing during that time, and especially now, is just applying for job after job after job. It the computer world and the automated processes just screen you out, and it's always better to talk to people and to reach out to people and to have conversation with people. So those are the things that I've learned during those, from 08 till basically 12. And then from 12 to 16, I was back with Northwestern. And then after that, I've joined the fintech world with two roles as biz dev person in two different technology companies.
That was really good advice all around there. The first thing you said was very powerful, I felt, because I know I myself can struggle with asking for help. And that is the first step when you are struggling, when you are in a position where you're not finding what it is that you're looking for. Ask for help. It is the simplest thing. And you're right. It is by asking for help, you can see the beauty of humanity, because it is amazing the people who end up stepping up.
Jolie, ask for help and pay it forward. There's a number of layoffs going on at Northwestern Mutual. I know a lot of those people from my past time there. And I reach out to them and say, hey, I notice you're out. Anything I can do, anything I can help you with? You want to get on a call? And some of them reach back out and say, yeah, that'd be great if we get on a call and spend like 10, 15 minutes. And, what are you looking at? What are you looking to do? So I pay it forward, because you never know again in your career when you might want to lean on those people. So it's super important.
Exactly. And you never know when a simple conversation like that can make all the difference in someone's life in that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. During your career, you've done a lot of different things, and with really great companies and whatnot. What would you say has been your greatest success, and what did you learn from it?
Greatest success has been that you can be at the right time at the right place and the wrong time at the wrong place. That's some of the things I've learned. You never stop asking. One of the firms early in my career that I called upon was a firm literally right around the corner from ours. And I was in the asset management business at the right place at the right time. Did the due diligence work with this firm and ended up getting a major placement of our assets into one of our fund managers. So much so that I broke the compensation package for my firm because it was too much, which happens in a salesperson's career, where you absolutely hit the mother load and break it, and where they have to come to you and say, listen, we can't pay you this much. And that's a good thing. So that's success.
Good, bad. It's like, yay for me, and kind of a bummer.
The other thing is, I think, I've had successes in winning clients. I've had successes in creating processes. I've had success. I think the greatest success is like some of these firms that I've worked with, Northwestern Mutual, Fidelity, and the field forces and the advisors, the people I've called on. It's some of them were like, oh, you're coming to Philadelphia this weekend, I'm seeing, or you're coming here. Why don't you stay at our place instead of stay at a hotel? And I've had that happen to me several times. So it's being incorporated in on that. There's a couple companies that I've been involved with that have gotten bought out, which has been, it's good and bad. It's bad in the sense that some firms will make you go away, and other firms will be like, we want to incorporate in with you, and then there's some kind of financial compensation with either in those situations. So that's happened to me. I've recently, because of my experience, because of what I built in LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, I always looked at people looked at LinkedIn as just a way to get a job. I've always looked at it as, yes, it has that side to it, but it's been my electronic Rolodex.
I completely agree.
And
it's an amazing tool that everyone should use.
Yeah. And, for your line of background, absolutely. My line is like financial services and a lot of industries are really small worlds when you come down to it. And I built up about 16,000 connections in LinkedIn, and it's a way to grow your network and identify with people, because I can reach out to people through second parties and get, like, hey, I'd love to meet this person who controls, the automation process for this firm. Can I talk to them? And I can do that now. And those are some of the biggest successes. But I've also helped create, over the past 2 firms, a way to do, relatively inexpensively, a way to create a database of decision makers for these firms through identifying personas, building workflows, and using technology to automate a lot of the prospecting business. And that's through technology. And we talked about like somebody my age or our ages, or that you fall behind in technology, and yes, I've fallen down, but I've also been able to I kind of know the schematic in which I want to operate in. It's the leveraging of technology that I've fallen, like which technology exists for this or that. And but the younger generations know it really well. I can talk to my kids and say, hey, is there an app for this, or is there a process for that? And and obviously there's tools like Salesforce and HubSpot and all these things, but there's other things that you can use to garner and develop and identify different people that which you need to speak with over the course. And there's a lot of companies that reach back out to me and go, oh, we have a great way to do prospecting. Do you want to look at it? And we use LinkedIn. Do you want to see it? I'm like, I already do it. We do that.
Yeah, no. So you created that for your company?
Yeah, I've created that for 2 of the companies. And I did that really with the idea. And then I leveraged I leverage the people who know technology better. That's in one company. It was a company called Smartleaf. We used co-ops from Northwestern University. So they were part of a co-op program. They were there for 6 to 8 months. And I'd say, listen, we want to be able to scrape names and email addresses and put it into a CRM and then create a workflow for these. And I'll identify the personas, and then how do we physically do that? And then we got it done. But they knew the tools in which to do it with, and they helped me put together the process in which to do it. And then I carried that over to my new role at Coveesum, so I can spend more time in front of people to develop new lines of business than just trying to find the right person.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. So yeah, and you found the people to help you make it happen in the best way.
Yeah, and you just have to ask the questions. And they're like, oh yeah, we have an app for that, or there's a website for that. There's a website I never knew there was a website called Buffer, for instance. You're familiar with Buffer? You ever hear of it? Buffer's a website in which you can put relevant content articles in, and it will distribute down and through your social media. And I never knew this. I'm like, okay, so I can take an article, put it on Buffer, and Buffer will distribute it into your social media at whatever times you want it to.
Oh, yes. Oh, actually, I have something like that called Get Woofy.
Yeah, Get Woofy. And all of a sudden there's like,
Hello Woofy. It's Hello
hello,
Woofy.
hello, Woofy. And there's all these,
Yeah,
there's all these types of it. So I
yeah,
was like,
that is
okay, there's
fantastic.
Buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Buffer, and there's all these nice things that we can add on to our Chrome, to Chrome as an add-on. And I'll say something to my kids. I got 4 kids who are like all 26 to 18. I go, hey, do you know this thing about this thing? He's like, yeah, that's the old one. There's a new version of this called such and such. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm always behind, but at least I'm learning something.
That's key. That's good to know. Yeah, I should start asking the younger generation.
Oh yeah,
better than what I'm using right now.
oh yeah. So
That's a good call.
so that's the biggest thing. The other thing Jolie, I've learned is things are cyclical. Everything that comes around goes around again. And not only with the markets and investments and financial services, it's just trends come around again and people just try and do it more efficiently. And I've seen that several different times.
Yeah. That's something that's insight that you get when you have a certain amount of years in an industry, because you are able to see that and you are able to see those cycles, and that this is all normal and everything's going to be okay. It comes back around. It'll go down again. It'll come back up again.
Yeah, it's good and it's bad. It's like negative. Some people say, "Oh, this is just a cycle," and that means a negative connotation. That actually can be positive too. So you can go through positive different cycles too. The recent cycle that I've seen is like this way of communicating with people is text and email, and now one company we work with believes in the power of email, and that's HubSpot. Great company out of Cambridge, Mass. Very innovative in what they do. They look at themselves as disruptors and change it. But they just email people. And what I've noticed is, especially over the past 2 years, people respond to the voice. They like to hear from you. They want a phone call. That's the true disruption. Is that my kids, 26 to 18 right now, if I call them, they're like, why are you calling me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I want to have a conversation with you. And it's the most effective way to have a conversation is one-on-one, is by voice, because text and email can be so misconstrued.
Yes, they can.
And they're like, oh, wow, let's have conversations. Well, I go, you guys use TikTok, you guys use all these apps, Instagram, Facebook, which is too old now for most of these kids, but you guys are using like videos, and videos are talking to people. They're just snippets. And they go, oh, okay, so if I call you, I'm trying to have a meaningful conversation with you. I'm not trying to bother you, or I'm in the car. So I don't want to be distracted with a text. And they get it. And now when you call customers or you call prospects, they pick up the phone like, wow, my phone's ringing. And secondly, they're like, it's hard for them to dodge a physical, or to not accept, or to get around somebody's voice to say, hey, I need to talk to you about something. I need to ask you some questions about something.
You're right. It makes a much bigger impact, a much bigger memory for sure.
It does. And it's like, and that's going to come around again. People are going to call. People are going to, this whole emailing, and, people I know, people I call on, people that I've worked with, or customers of mine, have 2, 3, 4 different email boxes.
No, yes, I do myself, and you're completely right. And, I just read this thing. It makes me think, 'cause I was just reading how companies were starting to mail things again, because the emails and the text and everything is so overrun. Yep. That
a physical piece that you have to do something with.
Yeah. That they've started to go back.
Back to mail.
So now we're going back to the phone calls, right, Tom?
Yeah, and this is something that people our age, Julie, we've done all this stuff.
Yeah.
We know how to do this stuff. And it's the younger generations that are scared to pick up the phone because, it could be mom and dad, or what have you.
100%. Well, let's flip it, Tom. What about a time that you struggled, had big obstacles, and had to overcome them? What did you learn from it?
That Fidelity, there's a couple of them. I'm sitting there thinking, which ones? There's several of them. There was a time at Fidelity where I got, the market changed in '08, and they let people go in Fidelity. And, that was tough. It's tough, young family, and trying to make, I was the sole, check, getting, the sole bread maker in the family. And it was tough. It was tough to do that. Getting divorced, it was life changes.
And that was at the same time, huh?
Yeah, that was in 2010. So, between 2008 and 2010, and then afterwards, and then after divorce, it's for a man or a woman or any couple is not easy. It's not easy. It's financially straining. It's just stressful.
Finding life again.
My parents passing away at different times, and that's another thing that people don't recognize. Younger generations don't recognize, or people don't my parents were older, so they were the first to pass away. But when your parents flip and you become the caretaker of your parents is a hard thing to go through. But when also in your career, you're trying to balance career and taking care of a family and taking care of your parents.
How did you deal with that?
You sometimes your company, a lot of companies understand that. And they're starting to be better with that because the care issue with your parents is always there. Or you have to take time off to care for a parent. I mean, in my family, we had to create a support network to do that. And certain people had certain days and times. And as long as you explain that to your companies, some companies probably 20 years ago weren't so lenient. Now they tend to be a lot more lenient with it. Those were difficult times. And then, it's being in sales and being in business development is you're always on the forefront. You're always on the frontier, as I call it. And I've been working remotely for a number of years, either with Northwestern Mutual, not so much with Fidelity, but I had a home office for a number of years. And you get used to it. You like it. You have to plan around it because there's interruptions and stuff. But it has been difficult over the past 6 months with COVID because everybody's working from home. And that has been a challenge too, is people's schedules are getting up. They have kids to educate. They have life to live at home. They got, so your schedule has to be a lot more flexible too. And those have been challenges. So, I think when I talk to people and like questions you just asked, it's not that I'm wary of people who've been like, oh yeah, my ups and downs. I haven't had. Yeah. I'd like to hear people who've had ups and downs because you have to deal with adversity during your career, either job loss, parent loss, divorce. God forbid a loss of your. I've had people I've worked with who've lost their children. It's terrible. I can't imagine that. And I'm sure there's been people who've, had much more difficult times than I've had. But I think you need your network, you need your friends, you need your people to rely on. You need those hidden people that come to your rescue as long as you go out and ask, as I mentioned earlier.
You're so right. Yeah. Asking for help during those times is vital because they can just drag you down if you don't have those good people to help lift you up in some of those situations. Yeah. So moving on with the different topic, I'm curious, have you ever experienced or witnessed ageism in the workplace yourself?
I have. I was let go of a job. I can't say where, who, what, or when because I signed something where unbelievably, after I was let go of the job, the person who let me go posted for my position and was about to hire a person 20 years younger than me, which in the state that I worked in at the time was a big no-no. I did not know that, and they did not know that, but my lawyer knew that. And the importance of retaining somebody if you're in that situation is really important to not only like, I think when somebody is going through, well, if you know you're being targeted at a company, I think you should retain somebody just in case, just so that when you do get your package, that can be reviewed. Or if you do go through a package, if you do a situation, any situation where you're severanced, I believe you should have an attorney look at your your documents to make sure that I've had when I was let go at Fidelity for basically phased out, they forgot to include unemployment.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's a pretty big thing to forget to include.
yeah, and sometimes it's not by mistake either. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
So you want
yeah.
somebody to double check and make sure that
Yes.
you're getting a package that has everything that you're entitled to. And there's certain things that can happen, but this attorney who you've talked to did some due diligence and found out, and basically sent them a letter saying, "Hey, you can't do this," and you're replacing somebody with somebody significantly younger.
So what happened?
Um, well,
You didn't get your job back, I take,
I
right?
didn't get my job back. I didn't want my job back,
Yeah.
but the settlement package was significant then. Yeah, it was more paid attention to.
And now, how long did it take you to find something new after that?
Oh, about 8 months. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true that it takes the older you are, the longer it's going to take you to look.
Yeah. How did you deal with the mental aspect that went along with that?
Um, it was very difficult because you're like, okay, why? It was very ambiguous to the reason. I believe that it was financial on their side.
Mhm. It's a
So
standard practice. Yeah.
and it's a standard practice. They're looking to cut. I've had employers tell me, "Geez, you make a lot of money." Like, come to me and say you make a lot of money. Like, while I'm still employed, meaning you're a line item in a budget. I'm like, well, I'm most experienced. I've had all this. You're paying for my Rolodex and you're paying for my experience,
Yeah. For what I can bring to the table.
or bring to the table. And what happens at these companies? You become a line item. They don't look at your age; they look at your line item. And they're like, well, we can do it now more, especially the other side of this automation edge, which I've talked to you about that I helped create, can also be my detriment
Because
because
you
of
can get someone
yeah,
younger, cheaper, manage it.
younger, cheaper, but also automation, which takes the place of it. So yes, I've experienced that since I turned really in late 40s. Late 40s, it started popping up more and more.
Well, I got to say the advice to, if you start feeling like you're being targeted, which, you can start to feel it a little bit, they'll start to make little comments or ding you on stupid little things, to get a lawyer. And even if you don't feel it and it happens, to get a lawyer and have someone look over it, that is really good advice, and not something I had thought about, to be honest with you. So,
Yeah, I think the important thing is if you feel like you're being treated or you feel like ageism's happening, it's obviously sometimes you're just not in a fit in the company. You have to realize that you're just
exactly.
not a fit in the company. But if you start hearing things or start seeing things like, we pay you a lot, you're the highest compensated person on the team. You start seeing little nitpick things all the time. They're typical micromanaging things. I think I think that's important to notice, and then retain somebody good in that area who deals with these types of issues and employment law and such. And believe it or not, there are lawyers out there that specialize in that understand certain companies within their geographic area. Fidelity being one. There are people who've been through these, and they'll review your. This one person I had reviewed me, but I've referred her off to 10, 20 people because of the way she looks at she understands the packages, she understands, and she can also she can help you ghost write a letter back, so it takes your emotion out of it and it puts facts in front of them if it gets down to that part of separation. So and unfortunately people our age face this stuff all the time because it's just like either they don't fit into the culture or they're just not producing in a certain way,
which happens. Yeah. This is all.
I find, and I also find companies now differently. And this is, Julie, something that I've noticed over the past 2-3 jobs now, that, of course, we never talk about politics and religion at work. Never. You never talk about that or personal. But they do want to know personal things about you. They, as a part of their regular agenda, like they want you to be included. They want to include you in a lot of company events and company things, and they're all under good auspices, but then that's a way to get to know you and leverage that information against you down the road. And personal things like I understand like how many kids you have, what do you like to do, but people start drawing. One of my things that I do or I don't do is I don't allow anybody I work with on my social media at all. And LinkedIn is an exception, but why
do you keep it separate?
Because I don't want them drawing conclusions about who I am and what I do in my own time. And that's my time. That's, and that might be a little like, oh, he's just being, but no, it's like who you vote for, and I'm not saying I'm out there tweeting every 5 minutes or posting stuff on Facebook but people tend to notice like, oh, he's got time to do that, or she's got time to do that, or she wants to vote for this person. People start getting biases.
They start making those micro judgments.
Absolutely. And I think for me, it's a very thing I've noticed a number of years ago that I just stopped. And my new company, nothing against these people. I work with them. I don't, my social media is my private side. And that's, like my kids, my family, the things I like to do, the places I go to. It's great. If I want to share that with my company, I can share my company in a different format. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That's something interesting to think about that I had not been thinking about either. So, just wrapping up really quick, I'd love to hear, because you have had a lot of success in your life, what do you feel is key to continued success throughout life?
Being a good listener.
Ooh, good one.
Very important is asking even ask the questions you already know the answer to. Just get the opinion of other people is important. That comes with age. Being able to ask the question that you already know the answer to, but just trying to solicit the opinion of to find out where they stand.
It connects them to you too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's smart.
That's really important. And then stick to your vision. Have your vision, stick to it, and but have room for varying of that. I mean, I think part of success going forward is being able to leverage technology. Not that you have to, some ways, adapt and adopt to it, but leverage it and know that technology is currently technology is going to pass by everybody. But being able to identify the fact that there's changes and how you can leverage that by asking the people who are using the technology is very helpful. Because then you'll see the cycles, then you'll see the history. Radio changed everything back in the early 1920s. It's and then you can see the changes in the way we get media going forward. It's totally different from that radio to TV to what we get now. And but there's always going to be a way of disseminating information, no matter how you do it. It's just a different way of the technology of delivering that.
Yeah, and you're right. And I like that you pointed out that you don't have to know everything about it. You can ask the people who do to get you.
Yes, people do, and you can Google it now. Now you can Google it, which is an amazing thing. And I find myself like not going to Google and trying to figure it out myself, and then it's amazing what you can find.
Yeah, it is.
Google stuff,
It is. Now, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Tom, it was really great to hear all the things that you had to share. There's a lot of great takeaways here. Thank you so much.
Oh, Jolie, thanks for doing this. This has been great. And if you have any additional questions, let me know. And I'd love a signed copy of the book. Signed copy of the podcast.
I will get it to you.
Oh, no, I'm dating myself.
Tom had some great takeaways from his story. Tom says that if you find yourself in a position of struggle, it is imperative to ask for help. This is so important. How many of us have problems with asking for help? I know many people who struggle with this, myself included. The human nature is to worry that it will make us look weak, that we will be rejected, or that we will impinge on others' time. But the overwhelming truth is, we as people are hardwired to help each other. Many researchers agree that the toughest barrier we face in having our personal and professional needs met is our inability to ask for help. The studies show that the smart people have discovered that asking for help is key to their success. Not only does asking for help assist you in reaching your goals, it also solidifies the bond between yourself and the person who helped you. The Benjamin Franklin effect is a cognitive bias that causes people to like someone more after they do them a favor. So asking for help is a win-win all around. Ask yourself, who do I know who can help me reach my goal? Then go ask them. Tom also shared that adopting social media, networking, and connecting through LinkedIn has been a huge factor in helping him find those successful roles. Networking and identifying with people who are excellent ways to advance your career. Accessing new job opportunities, gaining fresh ideas, strengthening your overall business connections, these are key. And LinkedIn is an excellent online option for this, particularly until we can get back to our face-to-face networking events. If you are not on LinkedIn, you should get on now. If you haven't been utilizing LinkedIn, start doing so today. Reach out to your connections, build your network, post relevant information. Even if you don't need it now, build up that network so that it is there when you do need it. It is incredibly beneficial as a resource, and it leads to countless new opportunities for its users. Who you know and who you're connected to can make all the difference the next time you're thinking about your next move. Tom also talked about getting lost in the black hole of internet resumes. Applying online and submitting your resume is the way that the world works, and the steps must be taken, but it is a roll of the dice if your resume will be seen and or responded to. Hundreds of submissions are happening for each role. So how do you differentiate yourself? Tom suggests networking, connecting with people, having the actual conversations, approaching people at conferences, or now during the pandemic, taking part in the Zoom conferences and meeting people via breakout rooms. People respond to the voice. Text and emails can be misconstrued. It's much harder to dodge someone's voice saying, "I'd like to speak with you," which makes the effort have that much bigger of an impact in this day and age. Reach out to people, make the connections, have the conversations, and don't forget to ask for help. It will start to make all the difference in your search. Tom also suggests staying current in technology. This is a must in today's world. Do not allow yourself to fall behind. Talk to the younger generations. Ask them, what out there is better than what you are currently using? Find the technologies that can help you leverage your ideas, your work, and your output. Asking the right people about technology advancements can help you elevate your career in a variety of ways. Tom graciously shared some of the more difficult moments in his life. Going through a divorce, taking care of aging parents, losing said parents, all while still needing to take care of your work. Many of us have been in this situation, and we know that the struggle is real. Midlife brings all kinds of new challenges, and Tom has some really great suggestions around what to do in these life moments. Open up your communications with your company and your boss. This is imperative. It is where paying attention to building those strong relationships will make all the difference. If you are struggling, talk to your boss and let them know what is going on. You never know how they might be able to provide some help, or at the very least, some understanding. Create a strong support network. You need people you can rely on. Asking for help during these times is ever more important. Let people come to your aid and allow others to help lift you up. Regardless if you are having a hard time in life, if you happen to find yourself feeling like you may be targeted at work, if you find you're getting a little bit nitpicked, little things popping up, micromanaging happening, you really want to pay attention and notice if things change. And if they do, start logging your own productivity and success. Keep records. Also, start building up that network and reaching out to connections before anything happens. If it comes to being let go and a severance package, get yourself a lawyer and have someone look everything over. There is so much we are not aware of that a lawyer will know. Every state has different laws. Tom used a lawyer in these situations, and because he did, he found out he was wrongfully terminated from one position, which he was able to do something about, and he narrowly avoided losing unemployment benefits with another. These are two huge situations that would have been significantly worse for Tom if he had not spoken with a lawyer. Be smart like Tom, and if you find yourself in this kind of situation, ask a professional for advice. Tom also shared that at one point, it took him 8 months to find something new. This is not surprising. If you find yourself in a similar situation, know that this is normal. The more experience you have, often the more difficult it can be to find that next role. There are many reasons for this. The corporate structure is a pyramid, and there are naturally less opportunities the higher you move up the ranks. There's also increased competition for these roles. You require more money, and even if you're willing to take less money for a lesser position, then that makes you overqualified. Plus, it's a lengthy interview process. All of this combines to make the entire process of finding new work much longer than most would hope. I share this with you so that if you are having a hard time, you know that you are normal. I have spoken with countless people in the over 40 category who have been shocked by the struggle to find the right next role after never having to worry about it in the past. Do not let this get you down. Just know it might take more time than usual, but stay positive and stay on track. As Tom reminds us, everything is cyclical. Have faith that it will come back around. I'm going to leave you with 2 final key pieces of advice that Tom pointed out for continued success. First, be a good listener. Relationships are vital to success, and being a good listener helps you create those strong relationships. The fact is, the majority of people are not listening. You can be the change maker by simply having thought-provoking conversations. The best listeners are those who ask open-ended questions, who are empathetic, who acknowledge the other person's feelings and intent. People want to feel understood. And anytime you can connect, create a safe environment, and have a positive conversation, you will make that person feel supported. They will remember that feeling. People don't always remember what you say, but they do remember how you made them feel. Lastly, Tom suggests that we should all be paying it forward. You never know when your simple assistance can make a profound impact on someone's life. It takes very little time to do a simple favor. And by taking the quick moment to do so, you bring joy not only to somebody else, but you feel that joy deep inside of you. It will make you feel good. It will activate your internal reward center. And then it sparks generosity in the others around you. Paying it forward gives us the power to impact our world in a hugely positive way. Ask yourself, who can I pay it forward to today? Until next time. Thank you for spending time with us on Fresh Blood. If you love this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, or giving us a review. I'm looking forward to connecting with you again on the next episode.